guys, I'm here with another manifestation, a law of assumption video. Today, I thought I would do a little video explaining or defining a lot of terms or phrases that you're gonna hear if you are delving into learning about law of attraction, law of assumption, or manifestation just in general. These are some phrases or terms you're gonna hear a lot, and it might be a little overwhelming, or some of them you might be like, what the heck is that? What does that mean? So I thought I would kind of come in here with a little ABCs of manifestation, a little bit of law of assumption 101. So yeah, let's get started. None of these are in any particular order. They're just kind of in the order that I thought of them in. So the first one is pretty big, and that is SP, or specific person. So that kind of already defines it a little bit. SP stands for specific person. And so when that's being used, it usually means the person you're trying to manifest. So that could be a crush. Most of the time that's a crush. Or it might not be necessarily a crush, but like your ex or someone you are romantically interested in. Usually 9 times out of 10, that's what that means, is SP is who you are romantically interested in, that you want to manifest for yourself. And then it can also represent not just like a romantic interest, but even just a platonic interest. Or you could use it if you were trying to manifest getting a job at a specific company. You could do it that way. If you possibly know who like the boss is at that company, you can manifest having a conversation with them or visualizing that they're giving you the job, something like that. So that's what SP, or specific person, means. Next we have purge, or transition period. Now this means that you've been manifesting, you've been affirming for your manifestation for a while, or it may have not been like for a while, but however long you've been affirming for it, you might start to notice in your 3D, things are getting worse. And so it's believed that that's considered your transition period, or your old reality, your old story is purging. Whatever is left from your old story is purging right now. And that can be super hard. It's not a fun time, but you have to keep persisting through that no matter what. You can't stop. A lot of the time when we get to that point, it's like, oh shit, I'm not doing this right. That's why I'm like, everything's going to hell right now. I'm not doing things right. And unfortunately, for some of us, that can make you think that you should just stop completely. You shouldn't. Don't do that. Keep persisting. It's gonna be super hard, but keep persisting. You have to keep persisting, because 9 times out of 10, after the purge happens, your manifestation is usually like right around the corner. So yeah, it's not a fun time, but sometimes it has to happen. Which then makes me realize I should probably talk about what it means when I say old story. A lot of these terms are going to kind of be self-explanatory just in their name, but old story is like, for example, you're manifesting your ex back. Your old story would be that, well, you guys broke up for whatever reason. He or she was really mean to you, or you were really mean to them, like whatever caused the breakup, or whatever issues there were, that's your old story. You're obviously not going to want to manifest that stuff back. We don't want to remember any of that. Throw that into the trash. Your old story goes right into the trash. We don't care about it. That's old news. As far as like law of assumption goes, it's truly fake news at this point. So that's what your old story is. That's what that term means. Next we have affirmations, or They can also be known as your intentions. Your affirmations are the things you need to repeat over and over again in order to get to your manifestation. You repeat them over and over again because they need to impress upon your subconscious. People mainly call them affirmations. Sometimes you can be like, I intend that this is going to happen. So that's why they can also be called intentions. Affirmations can be like, I'm gonna keep using the like specific person as an example. If you're trying to affirm for your ex, if you're trying to affirm for your ex to come back into your life, then you would just be like, I am so happy to be in a relationship with my SP. You wouldn't say SP, you would say their name though, just so you know. I'm so happy to be with my SP. We are in such a loving relationship, and so on and so forth. That's an affirmation. Manifestation, I guess if this is your first video you're ever watching about manifestation, I should define this. Manifestation is when your thoughts create your reality. The term law of attraction or even law of assumption also kind of just defines manifestation. So yeah, overall it's that your thoughts create whatever it is you want to see in your reality. And sometimes, unfortunately, what you don't want to see in your reality. The next term is going to be resistance. So when you have resistance to something, it's normally because you have previous assumptions about whatever the thing is you're trying to manifest. And those previous assumptions are blocking you. That's another term. I'll just combine the two. Let's say you want to manifest a super good job or a lot of money. Let's go with the job. You want to manifest a really good job, but you've only worked at like crappy jobs. Your whole life, you've just had one crappy job after another. So that can cause resistance or a block for you where you believe, it may not be consciously, but subconsciously, you probably believe that because you've only had shitty jobs, all you can get is a shitty job. So that can block you or create resistance against actually getting your dream job. That's what resistance and blocks are. They're not good. They're not fun. Next, we have subconscious. As far as manifestation goes, your subconscious is what creates your reality. So that's why we say that you need to impress and like you have to persist and be really into repetition in order to impress onto your subconscious, because that's what's going to create your reality. And what creates your reality is what brings through your intentions, your manifestations, your goals, your desires, all that fun stuff. Next, we have time crunch. And when you hear this term, it's normally when someone wants to get their affirmation by such and such time, such and such date. And for some people, that can be the same day, like within a few hours. Most of the time when people have a time crunch or want to do a time crunch, it's normally like, okay, I'm gonna get my SP by Christmas. I'm gonna get a new computer by Thanksgiving, something like that. Or I'm gonna get a call back from that job by Friday. That's what a time crunch is. Our next term is self-concept. When you hear this, it has to do with how you view yourself. So if you have a really bad self-concept, then it's gonna probably be that you are negative about yourself, you put yourself down, and sometimes you don't even realize that you're doing that. When we talk about self-concept, we have to think of it as in, I'm amazing, I'm a goddess, I'm a master at manifesting, I'm so beautiful, I'm sexy. If you're a guy, I'm handsome, I'm unbelievably smart, anything that can describe a person in a positive way, you would want to affirm for that if you feel the opposite of it. If at this point you feel the opposite of any statement that is positive to describe you, then that means you would have to work on your self-concept. Because deep down, you're not a bad person. You're a bad bitch. So you need to treat yourself that way. And unfortunately, society tries to tell us the opposite. So you gotta fight against that and work on your self-concept and be super positive towards yourself. You need to, it's a part of self-care, honestly. You gotta affirm nice things to yourself so that your subconscious is like, oh, yeah, I am super smart. I am so unbelievably beautiful. People are lining up around the corner to try and get my number, so on and so forth. So that's what self-concept is. Then we have the term victim mentality. So if you have a victim mentality, that means that, let's say you've been affirming for your manifestation for like a little while now. I'm not gonna give a time on this, because that can mean anything for anyone. But you've been affirming for a little while, but nothing is changing in your 3D. First off, you shouldn't be looking for anything in the 3D, but I digress. Normally when you get to this point and you're searching in your 3D for your manifestation, and then you're like, where is it? I've been affirming for this for so long. Woe is me, I'm not doing this right, manifestation doesn't work. Once you start doing the woe is me bullshit, that's just victim mentality. That's what victim mentality is. And you can't do that, because when you do that, you are further persisting in the opposite of what you want. You are continuing to persist and what your reality currently is instead of what you want your reality to actually be. You can't do that. Don't do that. Don't do the victim mentality. Stop. If you have to have a moment to be like, woe is me, have your moment, but don't persist in it. Don't stop actually affirming for what you want. Just have your moment, because sometimes we're human. We need to have our moments and be like, woe is me, but don't freaking like keep persisting in that. You have to bounce back. You have to get back up. So you gotta do that. We don't like victim mentality here. Sometimes it happens, but we don't persist on it. Okay, next we have mental diet. I don't know if Sammy Ingram was the first person who termed or coined this phrase, or if she got it from Neville. But either way, I first heard this statement from Sammy, and that's mental diet. And your mental diet is basically you working on your everyday thoughts. And when you first start learning about the law of assumption, specifically the law of assumption, you will not realize how many thoughts you have in a day that are against what your actual goal is. Because a lot of the time, they may not seem in your face negative. They could just be like a random passing thought that you wouldn't think anything about. But if you did like really focus on it, you would realize, oh shit, that's the opposite of what I want. Even though it's just a passing statement, that's the opposite of what I want. So when you work on your mental diet, you are learning to focus on every single thing you think about in a day, everything. And cutting that shit out. You are flipping everything you think about that is going against what you want and affirming against it. You use the affirmations you've come up with that are supposed to bring you towards your manifestation. If you have one thought that is the opposite, whether it's negative or just a random passing statement that goes through your brain, you are like, no, cancel, stop, we're not doing that. And then you affirm, you think about your affirmations, and you go through that to replace it. And you have to keep doing that every single day, every hour of the day, until those thoughts, even if they're negative or not negative, they're just passing thoughts, are no longer passing thoughts. You don't think those thoughts anymore because you've replaced them by persisting in your own affirmations to bring you to your manifestation. That's what your mental diet is. Next, we have reacting to 3D. This kind of goes hand in hand with the whole victim mentality. When something you don't like shows up in your 3D reality, your 3D is what you're living in. It's your current reality. It's your physical reality. That's probably a better way to say it. It's your physical reality, and sometimes you be seeing stuff that you don't like. Like if you're trying to manifest your SB and they do something stupid, or if they try telling you that they never want to speak to you again and then you get upset about that, that's reacting to the 3D. And although we are human and sometimes it's gonna happen, you don't want to do it. You want to learn to not react to the 3D. It's hard. It also comes with your mental diet, but you gotta do it. You definitely don't want to, especially with the whole SP thing, if they tell you that they don't want to speak to you anymore, instead of jumping on their case or either like begging them to stay, getting mad at them, getting upset with them, whatever it may be, don't do that. Instead, you can just be like, okay, whatever. Like, don't react to them. Instead, you think to yourself, the opposite of what they said. They didn't tell me that. They said that they want to see me right now. They're like blowing up my phone right now. Like, they just called me or they just texted me and asked me to go on a date tomorrow night. You affirm the opposite of what you see. That's reacting to the 3D. When you see something negative that you don't like, that goes against what you're manifesting for, don't react to it. If you do have to react to it, if you have to be emotional about it, keep that shit to yourself. But also don't persist on it. React to it, let your feelings out a little bit, and then pick yourself back up. These next 2/3 terms are basically all related. So we have living in the end / living as if, and then also feeling it real. So when you're affirming for something, you also want to put yourself in the mindset that you already have it. And that's called living in the end or living as if. It is better to also feel as though you have it. You can think that you have it, like you can force your brain to think that you have it. But it's also better to feel as though you have it. So whatever it is that you're affirming for, how would that make you feel if you did have it? Most of the time it's gonna make you feel really good, but you have to think, how would I feel if I actually had these things? And once you figure out what that feeling is, you need to save it. Put it in your pocket. And when you are affirming for that manifestation, you need to remember that feeling. Feelings are a part of emotion, and emotion is a part of energy. And what you put your energy towards is what you create. That is what creates your reality. So you gotta feel as if, live as if, gotta live in the end. That's what those terms mean. Okay, the next one is everyone is you pushed out, which is otherwise known as EIYPO. Everyone is you pushed out. Yeah, I did that right. And that means basically what it sounds like, but if someone's super mean to you, or even if someone's super nice to you, if a person is mean to you, you created that assumption about them. So if you continue to believe, oh, this person's super mean to me, what do they have to do? They're in your reality. They have to continue to be mean to you. Any thought you have about a person, you are pushing out onto that person. So if you start to believe that that person is super nice to you, is bringing you gifts and like free food and like waiting on you hand and foot, then they're gonna have to do that. They're gonna stop being mean and be super nice to you, which that might be a little bit much, but hey, sometimes we find super mean people and they deserve to like suck our right toe. It is what it is. Scripting. Okay, so scripting is kind of like a method, technique. I don't really like using those terms, but it's the only way that I can think of how to explain it. Scripting is when, okay, let me think here. There's like many ways to script, but it's where one way is you write down your affirmations over and over and over, however many times you feel you need to, in a journal or on a piece of paper. Scripting can also be where when you go to bed at night or when you first wake up in the morning, you write out in a journal or on a piece of paper a diary entry, but you write it out as if everything you're trying to manifest is already here. And you write out your diary entry as in what you want to manifest, you have it or you got it. It's a whole thing of like writing as if and believing as if, acting as if, because if you had what you wanted and you were using a diary or a journal, you would be writing this stuff down. So it's just kind of a tool to help you get in that feeling as if, living in the end, that whole deal. TikTok really likes the whole 3-6-9 method. They like 3x33, 5x55, all of those. Those can be forms of scripting. I have tried each one of those. I've noticed that people on TikTok, their pages are dedicated to manifestation. Everyone seems to have their own set of rules for specifically the 3-6-9 method. I have seen so many different descriptions or instructions for 3-6-9. I have tried so many different types of 3-6-9 methods. None of them have done anything for me. I'm not saying that scripting in general can't do anything for you, but for me personally, 3-6-9 has never done shit for me. That doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just it didn't work for me. If you want to try it, go ahead. Same thing goes with like 3x33, 5x55. Like, didn't do anything for me. Doesn't mean it can't do something for you. I just personally don't see the point. But that's basically what scripting is. There's a whole like bunch of stuff that you can do with scripting. You could also write out a letter to yourself. You write a letter as if you were going to mail this to one of your friends, telling them all this amazing stuff, basically as if all of your manifestations have come true and you're super excited to tell your friends. So you write them a letter and write as if all these things have happened, and you're informing them this as if it's like the first time, like it's brand new news. That's one way to do it. There's also, you can do the opposite. So like if you're affirming for a specific person, like a crush, an ex, an old friend that you want to be friends with again, a new friend, a job, like whatever it may be, you write as if you're that person and they're writing a letter to you that makes them come back to you. So you would think about what they wanted to say to you if your manifestation came true, and then you send it to yourself. Or I guess you don't send it to yourself, but it just kind of puts you in that mindset. That's another form. There's so many different types of forms, types of like scripting out there. Those are the ones that I know of right now. I know more, but those are the only ones I can think of. But yeah, basically scripting is just doing your affirmations or working on your manifestations in the form of writing. Scripting. Next is LOA. This is just the acronym for either law of attraction or law of assumption. Next we have SATS, and that's SATS, and that stands for state akin to sleep. So basically, when you're falling asleep at night and you're in that drowsy state, that's SATS. That's state akin to sleep. When you first wake up in the morning and you're still in that drowsy state, that's SATS. But a lot of people try to just limit SATs to that only, because those are two super big parts of the day where you can be in SATs. Let me back up a second. Here's why SATs are important. When you're in that drowsy state, your subconscious is believed to be fully open. And like I've mentioned already, you are wanting to impress onto your subconscious. And to do that, you have to keep affirming over and over and over again. And so a super fast way to get this done is to do your affirmations or do visualization while you're in SATs, while you're in that drowsy state, because of the fact that it's believed that your subconscious is wide open when you're in that drowsy state. Your conscious mind is shutting down and your subconscious mind is open. As I was getting ready to say, a lot of people like to just limit SATs to before bed or after you first wake up, or when you first wake up. We are in SATs, normally, we are in SATs multiple times a day. Basically, if you are in a point where you're doing something that doesn't require a lot of needing to pay attention, I guess, like if you're doing the dishes, if you're brushing your teeth, taking a shower, using the bathroom, like that's one too. People also say like driving, obviously you pay attention to the road and all that stuff, but otherwise if you don't do a whole lot with your brain besides focusing on the road, all these different things, like when you're scrolling on an app on your phone, when you're basically doing a mindless task, that can also be when you're in SATs. That's a perfect time to do your affirmations. So that's what SATs is. Super fun. Okay, to add on earlier to blocks and resistance, another term for that is limiting belief. I'm just gonna throw that in there because I just saw it on my list and I did not mention that. There are like quite a few things in law of assumption and manifestation and even law of attraction that there's multiple terms for it. So please forgive me. Visualization. Visualization is when you come up with a visual or a scenario or a scene that represents you as if you had your manifestation. Let's say you want to get a new job and you are already at a job currently. You could visualize yourself talking to your boss at your current job, or like the HR person, like whoever it may be, talking to someone at your current job and giving them your 2 weeks notice, giving them your resignation letter, telling them that you've gotten a new job. And you could further go into detail with that and say like how you got the job, what the job is, like how much you're making, so on and so forth, adding those little details. A lot of people say to make your scenarios, your scenes like super short. I don't think that's necessary. I don't think you should make them crazy long or anything, because you're supposed to be able to repeat this visual, this scenario, this scene over and over again in your brain to impress it into your subconscious. It's basically visual affirmations, kind of. This can also get tied into SATs. This is why I wanted to bring this one up, is instead of doing your affirmations, like thinking your affirmations over and over again, like repeating them in your head or even out loud, you can repeat this scenario, this scene that you've created over and over again in your head while you're in SATs. So that's what visualization is. Next we have revision, and that is when something that has either just happened or can have happened in your past that is holding you away from your manifestation or goes against whatever it is that you're trying to manifest. You think the opposite. You ignore what has happened or what did happen and change it to be in your favor. So I kind of did this a little bit earlier with the whole victim mentality thing. If your SP says that they never want to speak to you again, then you just affirm the opposite. You revise on the spot and you think, they want to see me right now. They're blowing up my phone. They want to go on a date tomorrow night. They're so madly in love with me, so on and so forth. That's revising. That's revision. You can do it with your past. There's stories of people who had accidents like that harmed them in some way or another, and they just decided to affirm and basically pretend that that never happened in their past, and whatever ailed them that is continuing to ail them to this day no longer ails them, because they revised that that incident that happened however long ago it was never happened, that they're perfectly fine. They're perfectly 100% healthy. That's revision. Movement, visible movement, is when you're looking into your 3D and trying to find your manifestation, trying to see if it's happened yet, and you're trying to find some movement. That's one type of visual or visible movement. Sometimes it's not that you're like searching for it. Movement is just when you notice that things are starting to change in your 3D reality, and they're moving towards your manifestation, your end goal. That's what movement is. That's what visible movement is. Okay, the next one is signs. This is kind of a broad term. It's when you see something in your 3D reality and you think, was that a sign that my manifestation is coming? Was that related to my manifestation? And this can be like whatever you want it to be. And the thing with signs is, I've seen people go to others and be like, was this a sign? Was this a sign? Is my manifestation coming? Nobody can answer that except for you. If you want to believe that that was a sign, then it was a sign. If you don't want to believe that that was a sign and that was just some random fluke, then it was just some random fluke. But at the end of the day, you are the one that decides what your rules are and what is what. You get to decide what your reality is and isn't. And that includes the signs you may or may not be seeing. That's what signs are. Letting go. It has to do with law of attraction and how they do things. It's where they believe that you figure out what you desire and you affirm for it like once, and then you let it go, because they believe that if you keep focusing on what your desire is, then the universe won't give you your desire. That you can only think about it once. This thing you've wanted for so long, you need to just basically pretend you never wanted it at all, and then you'll magically get it. Can you see how stupid I think that is? Because I do. It's really dumb. That's what letting go is. Next we have free will. And this is another thing that people who are into law of attraction get super butthurt about, because people in law of assumption don't usually believe in free will. People in law of attraction like to believe that others have free will, and that if you are trying to manifest a person to date you, marry you, be friends with you, give you a job, whatever it may be, anything that involves another being on this planet, and you are trying to get something out of them, then you're manipulating their free will, and that makes you a bad person. I'm gonna go into depth about this a little bit more in another video, but free will isn't a thing, because if everyone is you pushed out, then why the fuck would we have free will? Why would that be a thing? If I believe a person is going to do X, Y, and Z, they have to do X, Y, and Z, because this is my reality. It's not theirs. They don't have free will. Now, I'm not telling you that you should try manifesting a person you dislike to jump off a freaking cliff to their death. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Don't be a nutso. Like, people already think that those who are into LOA and manifestation are crazy enough. Please don't be manifesting negative things against a person. Don't be like that. But at the same time, free will isn't a thing. It's not a thing. You aren't manipulating someone. People aren't puppets to be manipulated. They are beings that you have created in your own reality. One way or another, you created this person somehow, some way, and you have created their actions towards you. And you've also created their actions towards other people. So if they're shitty towards other people, but only nice to you, you created that somehow. That's what free will is, and it's a joke. Next, we have karma. Now, here's the deal. Karma is like kind of touchy. A lot of people who are into law of assumption don't believe in karma. I personally believe in karma, but because I believe in karma, I am not going to tell you that you need to believe in karma. I am not going to tell you that karma is real. The rules I have set for myself, for my reality, for how I manifest things, whatever you want to call it, I have set a rule that I believe that karma is real. I just believe it. But if you don't want to believe that karma is real, then set that rule for yourself. So karma, the best way I can kind of describe it is like what you put into the world, you get back to yourself. And that can go in either a positive way or a negative way. So if you are, let's say with a person, if you're super nice to a person and you treat a person really well, you normally are going to get positivity back. And then if you're super mean to a person, you will get that back to yourself. You will get that negativity back to yourself. It may not be from that person, but somehow, some way, you will get negativity thrown right back at you. That's what karma is. Kind of like a really simplified version of karma. That's kind of what it is. Birds before land, or this could also be known as like partial manifestation. This is where you've been manifesting or you've been affirming for your manifestation for however long, and you start to see a little bit of it coming to fruition in your 3D, but not the full end desire. And so that's what's called birds before land. You aren't completely to your end desire, but it is coming around the corner. The tricky thing about birds before land is that it might make people think, oh, it's here. My manifestation is here. So then they stop affirming. And then because they stop affirming, their manifestation just stops at this partial manifestation. So you can't stop. Like, it's very exciting to see that movement in your 3D, but please don't stop because it's only partial. So you gotta keep going. Next, we have third party. This has to do mainly with like specific persons. Let's say you're trying to manifest a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but there's a third person, a third party that is getting in your way somehow, some way, and you have to like affirm that they're not there. You have to affirm them out of your reality, because otherwise they gonna mess stuff up and you don't want that. So that's what a third party is. It's a third person that normally is getting in the way of your manifestation. Lastly, we have Askfirmations, or they can also be otherwise known as Afformations. So basically, this is when you affirm, but you do it in the form of a question. If you're affirming for a specific person, if you were saying an affirmation, you would say, SP is always blowing up my phone. So that would be an affirmation. An askfirmation is when you say that same sentence, but you word it like this. Why is SP always blowing up my phone? See how it's a question now? It puts more of a feeling towards it. So that's what Askfirmations are. But yeah, those are all the terms that I can think of. I'm gonna be so mad if I think of another term after I finish recording this and I didn't add it, but I'm pretty sure I got basically almost everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!